Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a couple of dorks in love that love reacting to some lore stuff.
Yes, we do.
And so we're checking out Elder Scrolls lore now. Another one by Shoddycast. We've been doing the Fallout series. Really enjoyed that. And people said that they got Elder Scroll lore as well. So we're gonna check it out and see how it goes, see how we like it, and how you all like it as well. And we're checking out Elder Scrolls lore, the prologue for it. We've done some beginner's Elder Scroll lore knowledge, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
And if you want all our Elder Scrolls reactions, go ahead and check out the description of this video. We got playlists there for you.
Tamriel, Dawn's beauty in the language of the Altmer, or Dazukan in the Dragon's Tongue, is the continent upon which all the Elder Scrolls games take place. Home to many diverse races and even more conflicts, Tamriel has been host to many adventures. You've experienced Tamriel in your own way, but want to learn more about its story. Well, to get to the heart of the story, you have to go back to the beginning.
I like how they have the same little intro for all their little series.
Mm-hmm.
You experience it in your own way. Well, the other guy's got like a perfect voice for Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, real quick before this series begins, there are a few things that you need to know, and disclaimers that simply have to be said. It's not an over-exaggeration to say that the Elder Scrolls universe has some of the richest lore in gaming. Really, just the number of books you can find scattered throughout the world is mind-boggling enough, with over 800 books in Skyrim alone. I set out to make this series to prepare myself for the Elder Scrolls Online, and because I felt that the videos currently out there simply don't do test justice. This series is obviously for all you lore lovers out there, but it also serves the more casual Elder Scrolls gamer as well, simply by using good presentation and good storytelling. History is made by the one who writes it. Most of what you're about to hear in this series is written and spoken by the citizens of Tamriel themselves, meaning the source material is far from infallible. As a matter of fact, it even contradicts itself in places, showing us that authors often let their own bias affect their writing. The only history we can in fact know is true is that which we witness playing the games, as well as what we find written in the Elder Scrolls themselves. So with all that out of the way, let's start putting the pieces in place. Enjoy. What better place to start than at the dawn of time itself? This is Tamriel. It is but a single continent on the planet known as Nirn. As we broaden our perspective, we can see Nirn is part of other heavenly bodies, like moons and planets. These heavenly bodies make up the realm of existence called Mundus. Mundus itself was the brainchild of Lorcan, the missing god. Magnus, the divine being we draw our magic from, acted as the architect who helped Lorcan by laying out the plans for Mundus' creation. As powerful as Lorcan and Magnus were, creating an entire realm of existence was a monumental task that required help from the Aedra, who are more commonly known as the Divines. It's pretty unclear whether the Aedra willingly volunteered in creation, or if Lorcan in fact tricked them, but in the end, the Aedra gave part of themselves for the creation of Mundus, and in turn, they created Nirn and Tamriel as we know it today. However, not every godlike being agreed with our creation. Daedra is the name given to the divine beings that did not take part in creation. Unlike the Aedra, the Daedra are thought to retain the full might of their power because they elected to sit out while Mundus was being constructed. The citizens of Tamriel worship both the Daedra and the Aedra. However, the latter is more widely accepted in the greater empire. More on that later. Suffice it to say, the only thing we'll be concerning ourselves with is the biggest and most significant planet in Mundus, Nirn. There are 5 known continents on Nirn. The continent of Akavir, also known as Dragonland, is the landmass east of Tamriel. History has proven that Tamriel and Akavir have a very hostile attitude toward each other, to say the least. Akavir has invaded Tamriel several times in the past, and we know that Tamriel has invaded Akavir at least once. We as citizens of Tamriel know very little about Akavir, and much of the information we do hold is acknowledged to be incomplete or inaccurate altogether. The continent of Atmora is the landmass north of Tamriel, and legend says that it was from here that the first humans came. It was Yskamor, the ancient Atmorian king, who fled civil war in Atmora, determined to make a new life for his people in Tamriel. The western continent of Yakuta, which sank into the sea in ancient times, was the original home of the Red Guards. Although Yakuta no longer exists, it is included on the map of western Tamriel. What in fact caused Yakuta to sink remains shrouded in mystery, but the Red Guards themselves seem to be under the impression that the destruction of Yakuta was in some way their fault. Upon the sinking of their homeland in the First Era, the Yakutan fleet set sail to the east, where they shored in Tamriel. Birthplace of the Elves, Aldmeris is one of Nirn's greatest mysteries. So little is known about this southern continent that some question its very existence. Some moth priests say that Aldmeris is not a physical place, but actually a collection of images existing only in the minds of the elves themselves. It's hard to argue with the moth priests, considering their claim is based on a near infallible source, the Elder Scrolls themselves. Now we arrive in Tamriel, a land of swords and magic, bigotry and barbarism, social and political intrigue. An era does not come and go without a conspiracy or without blood being spilled for one cause or another. Our vast continent is a land divided by race, divided by culture, and often divided by greed. The most apparent divisions are identified by the 9 provinces that help define Tamriel's diverse people. To the north lies Skyrim, cold and rugged. Though currently inhabited primarily by Nords, the elves who they replaced had resided there since time immemorable. Skyrim is the province where Yskamor, the ancient Atmorian king, first made landfall after crossing the Sea of Ghosts. A legendary hero of men, Yskamor would later make conquest on the elves in a major event known as the Return, and in doing so, he would send a message to all of Tamriel. From then on, the race of men were here to stay. In the northeast lies Morrowind, which is dominated by the island of Vardenfell, which in turn is dominated by Red Mountain, a massive volcano. Red Mountain will erupt twice in Morrowind's history, each time having profound effects on the province. Some species of Vardenfell even depend on the ashfall for survival. Modern Morrowind becomes home to the Dark Elves after they are banished from Cyrodiil for committing the capital offense of Daedra worship. In the southeast lies the swampland known as Black Marsh, home to the reptilian race known as the Argonians, as well as a race of sentient trees known as the Hist. The mysterious Argonians are native to Black Marsh, and they organize themselves on the tribal level with great efficiency. Southern Tamriel yields itself to great deserts and jungles. Elsewhere is home to the feline race of humanoids known as the Khajiit. Sources say the Khajiit predate even the elves' arrival on the continent, making them one of Tamriel's truest natives, along with the Argonians. In the southwest lies Valenwood, which became home to the Wood Elves before the First Era began. Realizing the Great Forests were too wild to tame, the Wood Elves decided to adapt instead. In a pocket guide to the Empire, it describes Valenwood as a sea of endless green, a maze of foliage with half-hidden cities growing like blooms from a flower. The home of the Bosmer is Tamriel's garden. The Somerset Isles is the large island southwest of Tamriel's mainland, and it is believed to be the first province occupied by the elves. The Somerset Isles will become most associated with the High Elves, and for being the heart and soul of the Aldmeri Dominion. When people think of the western province of Hammerfell, they think of the Alakir Desert and its human inhabitants, the Red Guards. Finding the Alakir Desert a poor place for a home, the Red Guards fleeing Yakuta built great port and trade cities along the coast of Hammerfell, where they enjoy lives filled with travel and adventure, sailing mostly for profit as mercenaries throughout Tamriel. It is said that the history of Tamriel begins in the northwest province of High Rock. It is here where the Adamantite Tower stands as a testament to a long-forgotten age. High Rock might be home to the oldest structure in Tamriel, but it also serves as home to the Bretons, and more recently, the Orcs. The Bretons divide the province into multiple city-states and minor kingdoms, while the Orcs are happy to call Orsinium their home. And thusly, we arrive at the heart of Tamriel. In the ages to come, Cyrodiil will act as home to the Heartland High Elves, who were rumored to be the first humanoids to settle in this province. It was these elves that built the great centerpiece of Tamriel, the White Gold Tower. Tall and imposing, the White Gold Tower will become the ultimate seat of power in the centuries to follow. The Heartland High Elves, also known as the Aliads, bring about their own destruction by enslaving the humans that later came to the region. The result was the Slave Rebellion and the birth of the Imperial race. Cyrodiil will carry on without the Aliads. In their place, the Imperials will sacrifice much in efforts to hold the heart of Tamriel. In the first era, they will successfully repel an Akaveri invasion. In the second, an arcane explosion of energy will shake the very foundations of Tamriel. This will spur the bloody faction wars, and later will crown Tiber Septim, ushering in a new empire. Rebellions, conspiracy, Daedra, you name it, blood finds its way to the heart of Tamriel. Despite its chaotic nature, to us, Nirn is above all a land of beauty, mystery, and adventure. The stage has been set, the pieces in place, but who is pulling the strings?
It didn't hook me as much as the Fallout prologue hooked me. I think it was like, what I liked about the Fallout series so far is that like it starts like slowly builds each one. That was a lot of a lore in there, and in like a 12-minute video, there was a lot to like cover and kind of set the foundation of.
I would agree in that I think it was a lot more dense than the Fallout series. Like Fallout series kind of rolls things out slower, and it's probably like comparing apples and oranges, right? Because like Elder Scrolls, the lore of this world is eons. I mean, like the guy said at the beginning, there's like 8 books for Skyrim alone. I mean, it's pretty intense, and I don't think that the history and lore of Fallout probably comes anywhere close comparatively. But I will say that what I do appreciate is, like in the Fallout series, they do leave with a cliffhanger. Like, ooh, and so who's pulling the strings? I mean, they really do make sure that they end on either a question or something impactful and exciting to make you say like, oh, well, yeah, I need to know who's pulling the strings. I got to watch the next one.
Yeah. I think also it's just like, there's this episode in Seinfeld where George is getting a book on tape, and he can't listen to it because the guy of the book on tape sounds like him. And he's like, it's like, you know, it's like I'm reading myself, and you're reading, you're hearing your own voice. He's like, and so I'm hearing this guy's voice, and it's like, it completely takes me out of it. So I think this guy's voice is like too similar to mine. And so like, I like the other guy's voice for the voiceover. I thought it just like is a perfect voiceover voice, and like fits with the Fallout kind of sort of like old 1950s vibe that it has to it. So I think that's another reason why, like, you know, it got in my head a little bit too much. I'd be curious to check out more of it, but I'm not as hooked and as invested as I was with Fallout.
I think with it being a fantasy series, I like want to hear like Gandalf the Grey tell the story,
or Galadriel,
or Albus Dumbledore, or
Voldemort.
No, no, we will skip Voldemort. McGonagall is what I was going to go with.
Okay, yeah.
But like, you know, those are, I think, the voices that we've come to expect with fantasy. It's usually someone who is a little bit older, looking back, like they have the wisdom of having known. Yeah. You know, and they are typically British, so
Yeah.
I think in our brains, that's just what I'm expecting or would be hoping for, which is probably completely unfair to the creators, but that is the casting in the brain of the audience. So having a more modern voice tell the story, it is a little bit like, it just doesn't fit quite as well.
I think you bring up a good point, because another thing that works out so well in the Fallout series is that it is like told in this like documentary style sort of fashion. So it sort of has that, style and feel to it. Like in this one, you just brought up a good point. Like it would have been cool, like if they had told it like, old wizard opening up a book and telling, all the children are gathered around the village and he's telling the story of Elder Scrolls and like, like you must learn about the place that you live. And its history and its rich history and everything like that. That would have been something like where it kind of like sucks you in more, because so it's not, because like the Fallout series, it feels more immersive in the experience of watching this, whereas this one, it feels a little bit more like being explained the lore, whereas like the Fallout feels like you're going on a journey with the story.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think and I don't know, maybe it's because typically you're more adult when you get into documentaries. You rarely watch them as a child.
Yeah.
But you get into fantasy as a child. So I think there's more of an expectation of entertainment than information associated with fantasy, because as children, fantasies and fairy tales, they are there to entertain you. And sure, there are like lessons in there, but the lessons are conveyed through the entertainment. Whereas like Fallout, it is drawing me in more, even though it's informative. And I think it's because the style really fits to the genre, which really fits to who the audience is likely to be. I think there's enough potential here. I am curious to go on and see more. And maybe it will be, as we get further in, a little bit easier to take everything in. Yeah. I definitely feel like I missed pieces of this simply because it felt a little more talking at me than bringing me in. Although I do applaud the art in this, and it did kind of feel almost like when you are a kid and you have those fairy tale books that come with illustrations, it kind of had that vibe to it. Conceptually, there are definitely some pieces there. I don't think they're quite all jiving together yet, but I'm curious to see how it goes. Okay, I'm curious to see the comments and see what you all think about this. And should we continue with this series? Is there another Elder Scrolls series you think that might be better than this one for us to check out? Bethany wants to continue with this one. I'm down to continue with this one and just give it a little bit more of an opportunity to see like if it's able to hook us in the next couple episodes. But definitely want to see, hear all your feedback as well. Yeah. If you want all of our Elder Scrolls reactions, check out the description of this video. We got playlists there for you. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Shoddycast's Elder Scroll Lore Prologue. Just keep in mind that our reaction is definitely not definitive.